Hello and welcome everybody to our Saturday art stream. I'm Josh and this is our map and image creation with Fantasy Grounds Unity. This is our stream where we go over all of the art related information as well as do tips and demonstrations of the image creation tools inside of Fantasy Grounds Unity. Very robust and expansive system that allows you the creation of not just maps but all kinds of different image content for your games. So thanks everyone for joining me today. I hope everyone's having a great week and have lots of great games going on, hopefully. Oh, hey, Drake. Welcome. So we're going to be going through some stuff today, which should be really interesting. I'm so excited about some of the new stuff that's going to be coming out to Fantasy Grounds. And as more and more of these new features come to Fantasy Grounds, we'll be able to expand our live stream here and encompass a lot more of kind of what's going on. There's a lot more art-related kind of things happening. Such as the new dice systems that are going to be coming out. We're going to be having dice skins and lots of cool stuff there. So that's very exciting, and I'm super, been working very hard on doing a lot of cool stuff with that. So that should be really cool to show off as that kind of gets moving forward as well. Oh yes, and the first person theater of the mind feature that Doug did a little sneak preview on our YouTube channel, which is super exciting too. I can't wait to get in there and start to build some environments with you guys as well. So that's going to be really super fun. Also just released is 2 new art packs. We have the, if anyone hasn't seen it as well, here, I think I have a link to it right here. So feel free to check that out. Super cool. Just recently released, we had the Fantastic Space art package and the Fantastic Ships, which all kind of go with the new Spelljammer release that's just been gone live in addition to that. So you can create all of your cool environmental areas for traveling through all the different planes and whatnot. I'm not really that familiar with Spelljammer, so just in the art kind of creation stuff, I went through all of that stuff. So there's going to be more coming out in terms of that as well. It seems to be a very popular kind of item. And also the creation of Spelljammer type ships. So we're going to go in and we're going to finish up the map that we started last week. And then we're going to jump in. We're going to actually start to make some of these Spelljammer type environments and ships right after that. Excuse me. So that should be super fun and exciting. Really interested in making some really cool kind of stuff. Yeah, but the theater of the mind thing actually looks really interesting. I'm excited to see how that kind of gets implemented into the system, as well as that. Also, been working with Dominic, and we've gotten we're going to be releasing a Star Trek Adventures rule set, which is super cool. It's going to look awesome, I think, and that'll be a really fun one and go along with a lot of the same kind of stuff. And so along with that, we'll be releasing, I always try to release art packs that are relevant to the new releases. And if you do have the art subscription, that is always going to be included in that. So super great. Yeah, Star Trek Adventures will be coming your guys' way. I believe that Doug already released a little bit of sneak preview about that as well. So I think it's okay for me to say. So that should be great. It'll be super fun. Yeah, Star Trek, it should be really awesome. And we'll be, as I said, we'll be releasing a couple of art packs with that will be accompanying that release, and we'll kind of go along those. So we'll be doing some really cool kind of ship interior stuff, as well as more kind of alien worlds and whatnot. Super fun. Great. So without too much further ado, we're going to jump in, and we're gonna actually create a second floor to this. We're going to do one that's lower than this, so we probably should create a way that goes down there, right? But I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll turn this maybe into an elevator. So this, or maybe we should probably put it in a much better kind of location. So why don't we make this a storeroom, and we can make this into an elevator and maybe add in a door on this side and remove that one. This is kind of where we're planning. Well, let's just make this the elevator. It'll just be a little bit more convenient and save us a little bit of time here. And so whenever you're going to be doing any of these things, the new system here is great for this. We can just grab this and we can select this, and this is going to set us up with exactly the same kind of parameters that we had previously. And I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to hold down Control, and we're just going to draw out a nice little line going right across here. And then we can switch over here, and I can just line this up a little bit better, and we can move this over. I'm just going to bring this in, something like that. And then we're going to add into our floor here. And what we can actually do is go onto our base floor, and we'll change this to make this something a little bit different here. Let's jump over into our assets. And please, if you guys have any questions, or if there's anything that you guys have been working on and need a little bit of additional kind of help, or if you have any questions about it in any sort of manner, just let me know. Yeah, Spelljammer is very, very cool. I think it's a really interesting kind of concept, that mixture of fantasy and space. But more on the fantasy side. I like it when fantasy and sci-fi kind of merge. It's kind of interesting to me. Very like Star Wars-esque. It's very kind of like Flash Gordon, that kind of stuff. Is that mixture of fantasy and... I think we'll grab something that is going to be a little bit more, maybe something like this. And I'm just going to go into my stamp and grab it, and we can rotate it here. And so what I'm going to actually do is make this a little bit wider so it fills up that entire area. I'm going to turn off my aspect lock ratio because it's tall enough, but why don't we make it like 3.5 and stamp that right in there like that. And this will just be our little elevator room here. And now we'll begin to build our underneath floor here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'll create a new folder, and we'll drop this down here. And so we're going to have all of these elements here. And we're going to drop them. We probably want to include our all of this and this and this. So let's move it up here. And actually all of the lights and everything. So yep. So let's move it all the way to the top, and then we're going to grab all of this stuff and we'll put it in here. And then we can double click and name this our main floor. And this is actually our asteroid. And now we can go in, and this is just background stuff here. So what we can actually do is duplicate one of these areas here, or we can create a new floor, but I think that just for time's sake. And then we're going to turn this off here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our underfloor, and we're going to duplicate that. And then I'm going to drag that outside, and we'll put this down. No, we don't want to put it in our asteroid. We want to move it on the outside here. And we can close this up and we can turn that right off. You can see that that's going to create us a base of exactly what we have above, except we can do it now down here. Oh, thanks, AJ. And we want to make note of where this is. So all I'm going to do is actually make a temporary new painting layer. And we're going to go into our, let's go into our rectangle tool here. And we're going to turn off our stroke. And what I'm actually going to do is just do a color fill here. And I'm just going to drag out a square like this. And then when we hide this, we know exactly where our floor is going to be coming down here. So we can come over here, and then I can stamp this right here, and that's underneath this one, so we're not going to see it. Now we know exactly where our elevator is going to line up to, and that's going to give us a really good kind of indicator there. So now I can delete this. And now we can start to build this out. So what I'm actually going to do, I want to do like some of the rock kind of sticking up through here. So there's a few different ways that we can kind of do this. One, we could add in some additional rock elements on top of the floor. But we can also go into our tab here, and I can actually come in and let's grab our line tool here, and we're going to do subtract. What I can do is I can do a kind of a combination of the two. And what I'll do is I'm going to erase out some jagged kind of elements along this edge. So I'm just going to start to draw this out. And this is going to create a whole bunch of new adjustment points for us, as you can see here. And from this, what I can actually do is build on top of it. We'll have a little bit more that kind of comes out, but this will give us a really good kind of starting point here. And you can see that we have a lot of different occluder edges here. So one of the things that we can do is double click this, and we can simplify that because we don't need that many. We just want enough that's going to kind of, and we can kind of tweak this and move these around. Kind of find what's going to work best for us in this scenario. I think maybe something like this. Now these rocks we actually found in the desert art pack. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of the other ones, and we're going to build out a couple of the smaller rocks. Maybe we'll do like some pebbles and whatnot that kind of come out there. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to create a new painting layer, and we're going to put this on top of here. And this, we might do a whole bunch of different stuff. You can see that we've accidentally, this has already kind of gone underneath. So what I can actually do, I can do a similar thing here. I can go and I can erase where that actually is. And I don't even have to be very precise about that. I can just kind of do this. And for some reason, this guy has disappeared. But that's okay. We'll get it back. We can come back into here. I think we still have it as our stamp. And on this same area here, we can actually go underneath. Well, we can do it like this. Because I have this selected, it's going to be painting it on the bottom one. So what I can do now is I can grab these and we can kind of move them wherever we want. This way, if it gets hidden again, it'll still show through because we'll have a hole here. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this a little bit. Great. Now I'm going to go into the Desert Art Pack. I believe that this is the first one. The next one is Desert Ruins. So we want this one. And we go into our decorations, and there we have all of these nice rocks and whatnot. So again, I'm going to switch over to my stamp tool. And I'm just going to do this. And we'll make this a bit smaller. And stamp this maybe here. And I'm just going to grab a couple of these. Maybe some of these rather interesting shaped ones. I think we could even create like a nice little like cave entrance here and then do some of the internal elements of this. And then we have some scattered kind of rocks. We use them on the outside there. I think we'll go down onto this area and some kind of like coming out from underneath here like this. And these will blend in a little bit better once we do add our shadows back in and do all of that kind of stuff. So we're not going to worry too much about that. Excellent. So now we have this little bit of interaction between our second bottom floor here, our mining area. We'll create this into a big open area. Maybe do like put in some like heavier machinery and whatnot. What else we could do is we can go into the Western art package. And I believe in here we have a whole bunch of things along that line as well. A lot of like mining stuff. We have like these coal pieces and some like gold elements and whatnot. So we could even put in some, and we could even change the color of this. Let's make this maybe something like something strangely colored. And we can kind of place these around. We'll make these a bit smaller and have these kind of like embedded in our rocks here. Perhaps these are exposed. Maybe this is what they're actually mining for in this asteroid. Oh, is it possible to add animated birds, bats, rats into the map? No, not currently. There's no animation capabilities inside of Fantasy Grounds Unity currently. Yeah, I think that that's pretty cool. The next thing I'm going to do is let's go back up into this area. I'm going to turn this on and we'll switch back over to our line tool. Move over to the stroke and I'm going to grab this wall from the outside. Now this is going to, okay, no, don't want to do that. Now this is going to have this floor attached to it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the fill. And then I can turn this layer off again and go back down here. What I'll do is I'll start here. I'm just going to hold down Control. And because I don't have the fill on, with the line tool, I can just follow this edge. And this is going to match up with the walls that we have up above as well. And if I do something that isn't quite right, it's no problem. I can adjust this after the fact. I think we'll bring it in to like here. And then what I can do is I can switch over to the Edit tab here. And I'm just going to drag this over and just underneath that rock. And we'll keep this like that. And see what I can actually do if I wanted to is I could match this up perfectly, moving these on top of these. Very cool. And now I can create whatever sort of interior elements that we wish. Before we go too much further, what we're going to do is I'm going to use this underfloor as a mask for my effects layer. So I'm going to go over to the effects layers, and with this selected, I can create using painting as a mask. So what it will do is it'll take this entire element that is our floor, and I can duplicate that as an effect. This is going to have the mask already applied to it. We're going to go down to adjust colors, and you can see if I lower this down, it's going to use all of these elements here, and I don't have to. And then I can do my adjustments after the fact. What I can do is just remove what I don't want to be in shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do hide area, and holding down Alt, I can begin to carve out the areas that I don't want to be in shadow here. And what we're actually going to do here, I'm going to, like these kind of elements, this is blur out that edge. We get this nice element here. We're probably going to move this up to something like 45, so it's not. Maybe we'll go it a little bit lower, like that. Work pretty well. And then I can, just using, without any other buttons pressed, I can just drag out rectangles away from the walls here and whatnot. And I can do a pretty rough kind of section in through here. We can add this in any sort of elements that we want to as we kind of progress. We can add and remove from this. That'll give us a good little base for our little shadow content, just to give us a little bit of a frame of reference for what we're going to be working on. We might even want to keep this completely big open area too. That might be kind of cool. Great. So the next thing that we can do is kind of plan out whatever other elements that we're going to be having or kind of working with inside of this particular area here. We can either kind of just make it up as we go, or if we have a specific plan, that's usually easier. And if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. Let's jump over. We'll go to the modern industrial stuff. That's pretty good one for this kind of interaction here. In our decorations, we have all kinds of these pipes and whatnot, so we can do some really cool kind of stuff like that. These big tanks and things. And we have a lot of great brushes and whatnot, so we can kind of paint out any of these that we wish. Pipes. But this will be cool to create like this really cool feeling of some of this stuff. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of these large tanks. Because our whole original premise was for this area to kind of be like a horrific environment. Actually, I think we're going to drop something like this down first. And we'll do like here. And then let's do this. I really enjoy starting to put all of this kind of stuff together. I find it very relaxing and fun. We'll build something off of here. This. What else we can kind of add to this? And then we can go into our brushes, switch back over to our woman here. Here we have a pipe. I'm going to match this up to size here pretty good. And I'm going to start right here. I'm actually going to change my corner type round. And we're going to make some adjustments here. So I think what we're going to do is this out. I'm just going to snap this to the grid here a little bit so we can have a little bit more of an even. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We're going to build up a few layers underneath, going back and forth between these. We can even create a new painting layer, and we can drop that in between. And this is a great brush for trying to create some more complex images fairly quickly. We're going to drag this out from underneath. And I'm going to line this up with the wall here. And then we can go back into our adjust colors, and we're going to drop this down in appropriate spacing over here. Switch over to the effects, and I'm going to do reveal area, and then I'm just going to start to add in some shadows to this stuff as well. Drop this down. Make this feel as though it's a little bit more included in the space. Just some subtlety there. Oh, so howdy, Fantasy Grounds Academy, FGA. Does the color picker option exist so one can match the hue or color of other map elements, or assist with the paint or stamping tools? I forget about the usual and usually resort to just using a color hex code. Well, you can certainly do both. So you can, and let me demonstrate. So the way that Fantasy Grounds works is it always adds to the existing color. It's additive. So if you have a completely white element, you can match it to any color. But let's say, for example, if in this instance with this type brush that I have going here, you can see it's a rather dark kind of greenish, very muted tone. So if I go into the color picker, and here we have the actual eyedropper tool, and I click on it, as I mouse over all of these different colors, it's very, very precise. So you can, let me just cancel this, we can move in really close to the image here so we can be very exact. So if I pull this up again, you can see I can actually grab any of these colors I want to. We'll go with one of these lighter ones, right? And as I click on there, it will change this. You can see that it doesn't actually, it helps getting this here, but it's never going to make it a true because the original starting color is going to be the one that's getting adjusted. This is just adding those color elements to it. And we can further augment that by now adjusting these sliders to match it up better, if it's so necessary. But if I were to grab something like this, for example, though, something that's much closer to white, then when I use this tool, you can see that it's going to match up exceptionally well. So your base image changes drastically how this is going to affect what's going on. Now it should be noted that, or at least it used to. Let's see. It used to be you can go anywhere on inside of your workspace. It doesn't work outside of the workspace, but anywhere on. So like if you wanted to change the color of your dice, for example. And if we go up to our color options on our dice, you can see we have the same selection tool here. And so I can grab a color, maybe from the theme that we are using, or from a map or an image, and my dice will change to whatever the selected color is. Yeah, no problem. But just to explain, because that is something that probably a lot of people should know how that system works. So what I'm going to do now is, as we're working in here, let's start to build up these areas. I think what we'll do is we'll make this a little like ship dock over here. And then we can do like some storage stuff around. We'll keep this pretty open. But we're going to build out some of the rest of that stuff. And I can show you guys, maybe we'll build a little entrance and do like a small little tunnel system inside of here. And we'll work on this maybe another hour, and then we'll switch over and start to make some Spelljammer stuff. Yeah, that's definitely probably the case. The more you use something, the more you can kind of feel where it is most advantageous and least advantageous. So again, what I'm going to do is, on this particular layer here, we're going to create a new painting layer, and we'll call this interior walls. And I'm going to just drop this down in here. I'm not exactly sure where I want it in the height, because we may want to do some stuff that's kind of up over it and whatnot, so it might get changed. But again, what I'm going to do for consistency is jump in here. Well, that's a good question, Drake. So no, the way that it works here is a little bit different. So what this does, and what I mean by adding it, is it puts the color changes on top of the existing color. So think of it as another layer of color adjustment on top of what's already going on there. It's not truly additive color, as if we were speaking like mixing light together, because then you would be correct. The more you added more colors to it, the lighter it would get, and the closer it would get to white. So what I'm saying here is like your baseline of adjustments is whatever it is that has been selected. So let's say, for example, I have this, let me just make it bigger rather than, so here we have like this wire, and it's very dark. So when I move into here, we can remove all the red from it, which is basically what we're doing in the color picker, is we are saying that this starting image is full red, full green, full black, and full opacity. And then what we want to do is, what we can only do is remove from this. But when we select this, what it does is it kind of adds to the element. Oh yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks, Fantasy Grounds Academy. And then again, if we switch back over to something like this, let's cancel that out. Or maybe even something like, actually this is going to be a good one to demonstrate with, because we have lots of values already there. So let's open this up. So now what I can do is I can remove all the red from it, making it only green and blue. And then, because this is so light in the first place, we can make this very, very green. But we can also kind of go around in here and see all of the different color elements as it adjusts it. But what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go into my sample settings from the painted object. And on this, we can select this folder, and it will work for everything that is inside that folder, so rather than needing to go directly to that element. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grab that wall. And what this is going to do is, you can see that we've tinted this wall to match our surroundings. The size of the wall that it is, it's going to grab all of that information, and it's going to load it up for us. So now what we can do is we can hide this once again, and we can go down to this layer, And we can add in these elements to it. So I think what we'll do is first we'll kind of create our elevator area here. And maybe what we'll do is build this out. I think we can kind of close off this little area here. And I can switch over and just kind of drag this out. Make that a little bit straighter. Let's see. Yeah, so you can tie in the colors and brush options into a folder layer for themed color and brush elements. Yep, you can do so many different things in that regard. You can do it on the layer level, for example, and adjust all of those colors at once. You can do it on the brush level. You can do it all of those things. So basically, think of what the folder does. Is if we open up this folder, we have all of these different layers in here. What the folder does is it basically collapses all of those to function as one particular layer, right? It's a non-destructive layer collapsing feature. And so if we open this up and we're in our edit, you can see we are able to move around and edit every single element that's inside of this folder. Now we can go inside of the folder as well and just do our interior walls or make any of those adjustments. But we can even go into the Layers tab and we could make adjustments to all of the colors that are inside of here. So if we were to do this, we could change all of those parameters. So all of that is adjustable on an individual layer level, an individual painting level, as far as like the brush that's being used, and then also at a folder level, depending on how you want to achieve whatever you're trying to do, whatever's going to be working the easiest, basically. We don't want to create a new painting layer. We want to make sure that we have the correct layer selected, and we'll make one little room over here. And then we can move over and I'll just adjust these, widen this up a little bit. And I think we'll do something similar over here. We'll make this like some sort of airlock or something along those lines. Great. The other thing that we could do is we could add in some more. I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of go around and add in a bunch of, well, I think keeping this a big open area is probably best. We'll just fill it full of like crates and stuff. And if we go into the other modern industrial art pack, there is quite a lot of content in those. There's actually 3 about this is all of like the mainly the sheen decorations and things along those lines, but we have some cool kind of like these industrial books and whatnot. And we have a forklift. I think we can kind of put that in the area. What I think I'll do, we'll use this one, is I'm just going to drag and drop it. It can be easily moved on its own elements here, rotated and all of those things, because it'll probably be something that will be interacted with. So what I'll actually do, and this is like a kind of a neat little trick that you guys can do as well. So I'll create a folder for this, and I'm going to call this forklift, and I'm going to put this element inside of here. And then what I can do is, one of the things that the differences between certain painted elements and dragged and dropped elements, and they interact differently, especially when you rotate them around. So, for example, if we were to go into the Layers tab here, you can see that there's no information in this, so this all kind of gets scaled and works in one instance here. But if we start to paint in, and I'm actually going to grab this little guy down here, I'm going to paint a couple of like shadows off of this guy, and we're gonna put like put this underneath and maybe do a little bit above as well. But then we can just interact with this folder, and we can move this around and rotate it, and you'll see that these are going to rotate differently. So let's I'm just going to drop this stuff down, and we can also do that on the keyboard holding R, G, and B. I'm able to change the colors. So I'm holding R, G, and B at the same time and using my mouse wheel. And then I'm going to hold down A, and then I can adjust the opacity of this. And I'm going to paint out a couple of shadows like this, and let's drop this in underneath here. So now we have this nice little element there. And then I can come over here, let's grab these and just move them a little bit more under like that. Now when we go into this tab, you can see that this is much larger. And it's going to encompass all of that stuff. So if I rotate this, I'm holding down Control so it doesn't snap. All of it's going to go kind of together here. Now you're going to see that it gets a little bit, it's a little bit off as we move it around. But for the most part, that's going to work really well for us. So I can kind of move this around on the as one kind of conglomerate. I'm holding down Control so that it doesn't snap to the grid. We could also just toggle off the relative grid snap, but I like to have the option of snapping to the grid when I wish. This is going to allow us to have a more interactive little element because we're just going to be using it in the folder layer now. Now again, we can go into this folder layer and we can grab this tint, the color picker here, and we can actually adjust this. This is going to adjust everything that's inside of the folder. So if we want to maybe make it, actually let's make it a little less yellow. Or maybe we want to make it more red, kind of go with the other stuff that we have going on here. We'll drop down some of that green. And I'm just going to grab this and move this back. Maybe we'll put it like over here. Now with this already set up in my brush, I think what I'll do is I'm actually going to go into my this underfloor copy here. And I'm going to paint out a little bit more shadows like coming out from underneath this stuff. And I can turn off my aspect lock ratio and make this like an oblong shape. Let's make it even further. And then I'm going to hold down Shift and use my mouse wheel to rotate it and change its size with Control. And I'll just stamp out a little bit underneath some of these as well. And you can see that it will quickly kind of add a little extra separation between what's below and what is above the floor. We're going to come in and we're going to put in some additional stuff too. We're going to scuff up this floor quite a bit. Add some texture layers on top of it. I'm going to go back up into here. Let's switch over to reveal area, and again, let's just add in some for these elements. I'm going to do these all the way across because we're going to have some doors there eventually. I think we'll go into the sci-fi interiors. And I'm just going to type in the word crate. And we got a bunch of ones here. We're going to use a couple of these and place these around. I'm going to go into this layer up here. Make sure we have our stamp tool selected. And we can grab some of these other ones. Maybe we'll make these ones smaller. Maybe we'll do a whole big pile of them over here. And then we can do some additional ones as well. And we have a lot of different elements in here that we can kind of use if we so wish. We'll probably use some of that stuff. I think that's probably pretty good for right now. Now again, let's go back into here, and I'm just going to grab this guy, and we'll hit R, G, and B, that down, and then bring down our opacity quite a lot. And I'm going to do some shadows coming out from underneath. And then we'll go on top too, and we'll add some shadows. And this is why we want to lower our opacity down quite a lot. It's because we're going to do this like layered on top of each other. That's going to give us a little bit more of a smooth, natural kind of thing. Grab some of these doors here. This is the one that we're going to use. And we can add this. Let's go to our interior wall layer. And we'll drop them like this. And I'll just move these back. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is this is the floor itself is a little bit too pristine for such a work environment. So we're going to go back down to our underfloor area here. And I'm actually going to go into the Siege map pack. I think it's the first one. We have some scorched texture here. And I'm going to grab it and I'm going to drop it in here. And make it quite large. And then I'm going to lower down its opacity quite a lot here. And I want it to be just barely visible. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of stamp that right on there. You can see that that's going to add already a little bit of. And then we can increase the opacity a little bit. Do some stuff like this. And then what I can do is I'll go into the winter art package. And one of the great things, like we were talking about before, with the color changes, is that a lot of these snow elements, because they're white, we can make them any color we wish. So I'm actually going to grab this, and we're going to make this kind of like dust coming off of heat. So let's grab maybe something like this. You can see that that's going to match up quite well. And again, I'm going to lower down the opacity. Maybe even a bit more. And we'll build this up a little. And we might even want to put this kind of like all over everything. So we can go up to our big layer here. We can layer this on top of some of this stuff. Like maybe this dust gets everywhere. I'm also going to grab this little guy here, and we'll do a little bit of shadow on this and kind of bring it more into unison with the rest of these. As you can see, that's going to start to blend in a lot more. Great. Now, I think what we'll do is, I really think that we should create like a little bit of a cave entrance here. Now we have our main floor. Then we have lower elements as well. I'm wondering why this one, like when we hide this. Oh, it's the night vision. All right, so let's go into here and start to build this stuff up. So this is on this layer. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my painting layer here. And I'm going to increase the opacity of this little dark area here. And I'm going to leave a little bit here. And then I'm going to just make like this dark hole. And then I'm going to build up with some of these rocks up over and create my little entrance. Now we can switch back over into our desert. Go into our decorations here, and I'm going to grab some of these ones that are kind of like elongated like this. Move this up in a little bit here. Readjust this again and drop down the opacity quite a lot. And then again, we'll just kind of go over, create like a little bit more. Great. And what we could actually do even, if we wanted to make this, we could do like tracks coming out of the darkness or whatever, but I think that that's plenty. Kind of create what we want to do there. And then what we can actually do is, what I would do is on a completely different layer, we'll build out this. We can do that really fast. We'll actually go into the Western art package. I believe it's the first one. Yeah, this is one that has all the mining stuff. And in the brushes, we actually have like these mine shafts. And what we can do, we have a couple of different ones here, is just paint it out as a brush. So what we'll do is create a new painting layer. And then we'll go into our stroke here. And this is pretty close to it. Let's make it a little bit redder. That's going to work pretty well for us. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of paint out let's see here. Well, let's just close that down for a moment, reopen it, see if that bug will go away. Good. Well, for some reason that doesn't want to work. There it is. And then we can, we wanted to create like a area out there. We could. Let's go back to our painting here. I'm actually going to grab this hexadecimal code. Control C. Okay. And then go into our decorations, and there's an end like this. So we'll go to our stamp tool. And then I'm going to plug that in to match up these colors. I'm actually going to put this underneath this. That. Let's see if we can match this. Good. Well, that's not really working out the way that I anticipated. I think what we'll do is we'll just go back into the brushes, and we have a like a wall here. Again, we'll match that up. And I'm just going to pick this up here. I'm going to make sure, nope, we don't want to make a new layer. Put it in the same layer. And we're going to flip it. Then what we can do is just this. And what I'll do is on the same painting layer here, we want it to be kind of the reverse of this, right? We want to have light kind of coming in from here. And we're going to only have this visible when people go inside of the actual asteroid. And we can actually bring this down. Or we'll leave it where it is. But we'll turn this off most of the time. And then we can do exactly the same kind of thing as before. If we go onto these layers, we could grab these rocks. If we do the same thing, turn that back on, we can kind of do some of these maybe along the edges. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's on that layer. What we'll have to do is I'm going to grab one of these, move it out here so I can easily access it. And then you can see I can move this one right back wherever I want it to be. And then I can go back onto this painting layer. And I have this all set up for me. Not sure, sometimes the stamped images, as you can see, they get pushed behind. The only way that I found to guarantee that that doesn't happen, so you have a couple, is to make sure you do them on a completely separate layer. Cool. And what we'll do is we'll make a new folder. We'll grab these, put them in there. And then we can hide that all at once. Very cool. All right, well, I'm going to call it for this one. We're going to take a short break. And I'm going to freshen up my beverages, and then we will jump right back in and begin to create some Spelljammer content. That should be super fun. So you guys just want to hang out, that would be wonderful. I'm just going to be a few moments as we take a little intermission, and I will be right back. All right, we're back. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I appreciate it. All right, we'll jump right into this creation process and begin to build some of these cool Spelljammer type ships. And so we're going to spend some time with this, so it should be pretty fun here. Oh, let's rename one. Let's name the one. Not rename it because we never did. We'll turn on all of these elements here like this. And now we can create a new element here. And we'll close this down. Let's drop down the opacity of our grid. I like it to be seen because I do use it a lot in the creation process. But I don't want it to be too intrusive, right? So we want it to be able to be useful to us as we're creating our maps. And obviously during play, you might even want to adjust it even further to make sure that it's completely visible. But during the process, I like to keep it kind of like this lower opacity. Now the first thing that we're going to do is create the basic shape of our ship. And we're going to do that just with like a wood floor fill. And we can make it as wild as we want to, and then we're going to start to add all of the other kind of components below and above. And I found that that's the easiest kind of creation method to really bring out the full potential rather than starting. Well, there's a couple of different ways, right? If you wanted to, I know that there are like deck plans inside of the Spelljammer new stuff that just came out. So you could build right on top of that. And you could then, fully flesh out all of the cool graphical kind of content that they might be lacking in. But we're going to create our own original creation today. So not based off of anything particular. So I guess the first thing that we're going to do is kind of figure out like the size that we want to create it. And what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do this in a different way than I normally do. And I'm going to actually leave, I want to have like a black line to kind of determine the edges here a little bit. And I'm going to be building the ship, and then what you can do is add in any background you want to, especially if you're going to be using this in play. You don't want to have it too dedicated to one particular area because we're going to be using several layers. We're not going to be easily able to translate that into other maps. So basically what this would be is your primary map that you're going to be using with your players, and then you're just going to change the background based off of whatever happens to be going on. So let's jump in and start to build out some of this stuff here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm probably going to be using mostly, to start off here, as I said, just some sort of wood floor fill. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to type in wood fill. And here are all the ones that are kind of already set up for me. Now the one that is inside of, well, we might even not want to do fill. I think if we do wood floor, because all of the floors should, not all of them, but most of them should work very well as a fill in addition to that. So we could use something along these lines. It depends on the kind of the feel that we want to have for our ships. I think the one that I want to use is in the coast. In here, there's all kinds of. We want to use the other one though, the second one. So there's the coastal map pack and map pack 2. And here we have a whole bunch of different like planks and whatnot. So the fantastic ships goes exceptionally well with this. So we have like figureheads and all kinds of things that we can kind of add, cannons and And then we also have the Siege art pack, which has all the different ballistas and trebuchets and whatnot. That I believe is also on those ships in the Spelljammer. But here I believe that there is, yeah, this is just called Floor. But this is a really good one, and one that I've been using for this process in my tests. I'm going to grab this one, and we're going to just kind of start building out. What I'm actually going to do, which is going to be a little bit different than I normally do, is I'm just going to drag out a square. And I'm going to do this just to get the size of what I want it to be, right? So if we come back over into here, we can actually see that this is, well, the points are from the line itself, because the line is going to be overextended. It's the actual floor itself, so it's 19.1 by 37.1. So what I can do is I can change this to whatever I wish to make sure that it's appropriate. But I don't need to do it here. I can do it here. So if it's at 37, why don't we make it an even 40? I'm just holding down Control to snap. I'm just going to do 3 down. And it's 19, so I'm going to make it 20, just to make it a little bit easier for us to kind of manipulate. And the reason why I'm going to do that in even numbers is so that I can, as I begin to manipulate one side of that, I can duplicate it very easily on the other side. I know how many squares to move in certain directions and so on. Just going to make things a lot easier. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to carve this out into the shape that I want it to be, right? So this is going to be the maximum width it's going to be at any particular time, and this is the maximum length it's going to be. So I can start to carve away these different shapes. I'm just going to do one side, and then we'll do the other. So I'm going to go back into my painting tab over here. I'm going to grab the this line tool, and we can leave the fill on or off because we're going to move into our subtraction mode here. And let's turn off our stroke here. So what we'll do is start to shape this out. We could do it in lots of different ways, but we're gonna just do it this way. One of the things that we can do when we start to do our line, I'm just going to click and drag out. And so if I hold down Control, I can snap, but if I hold down Shift, I can make sure that I go either at 45-degree increments. So we can do straight up and down, 45 degrees, or the same all the way around. So this is going to be in conjunction with using the Control key to snap to points. We can be very precise in the way that we begin to carve this out, so to speak. And then we can manipulate it after the fact by moving into our edit mode and moving them all around. So rather than having lots of different ship parts that we need to kind of place together to create things, we can just create whatever we wish, which is a huge benefit. So what I'm going to do, I know that this is 20, so if I move in 10, so if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so I know that this is going to be right in the middle. And I don't want it to be completely, I want to have at least 2 squares up there that I can kind of build off of. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag this out from this corner. I'm holding down Control so I make sure I snap directly to the grid here, and I'm in the subtraction mode. So now what I can do is I can hold down Shift and I can do an exact 45 degree, but I can also know that it's going to snap right to here. I'm going to do this in a couple of stages, and the reason why is because I want to have additional control points that I can move. I might make this a little bit more rounded. I'm actually going to come down here, and then I'm going to move out and subtract that. And then I'm going to do it from here again. And you can see what this is doing is it's going to create these control points for me. I've actually ended up creating several in here, but we can remove these. I think we can that. For simplicity's sake, why don't we just keep one of these, move it right onto there, so that we can duplicate it on the other side a little bit. And I'm going to move this one and hold down Control so we can snap it to the grid. And go back into here. And again, holding down Control to snap to the grid here. I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of come out and do a couple more. And then we'll end here. And we'll get rid of all of that stuff. And let's remove those. And line that right up here. And the reason why I'm going a little bit slower with this is because I am not really sure what I'm going to create here. Do that. So I think what we'll do is, yeah, let's move this one. I'm going to move that to there, that to there, that like that. Actually make it a little bit more rounded. Yeah, I think that'll be pretty good. That's a nice little slope. And again, I can duplicate this on the other side. I have to make sure that I create the same number of elements here. We're going to do that. And then I just have to move them to the appropriate spot. So again, I'm going to start off here. And we want to make sure that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more elements, because we're going to get the one from the start and the stop at the same time. I'm going to have to do 4 more clicks. So why don't we do that? So I'm going to come back over into here, and again I'm holding down Control, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll bring it out. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these up. So this one is going to be here, right? It's 2 up and 1 over. And then again, we're going to go 2 up and 1.5 over. No, let's remove that one. And then this one is going to be, again, it's going to be 1.5 and then 2.5. That we're off here a little bit. This one has to be down. Let's see here. One should be there. We miscount our original elements here. Let's see. This one should be 3 over and 1 down. Then we should go 3 over and 1.5 down. Then there. I think we should be a little bit wider over here. Perfect. I think what we'll do is let's actually let's make this a little bit narrower. I'm just going to move this 2 in, then I'm going to grab all of these, them in as well, giving it fairly symmetrical. And then I think what we'll do is let's move over to grab a square element. I'm going to pull in this side here. So again, I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to make it like that. And then I'll do the same on the other side. And it's okay that I went a little bit too far. Make these single points. The reason why it's making multiple is because I have it set to should set it to miter. Not sure why it's grayed out. Well, let's grab these and then we can move it over. I think we'll actually make this like that. Yeah, I like that shape. I think we'll actually make this a little bit wider back here. And then what I think we'll do is we'll make this rounded. So what I'll do is I'll go into the here. Now let's do add. And then we're going to find our middle. Let's see, how wide is this? It says it's 22 wide, so that must be 22 here at the bottom. That's right in the middle. So what I'm actually going to do is I'll move up a little bit like to here, because this is our middle. And we'll switch to here and add. And where this is our middle element, I think. There. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Alt. And that's going to, oh, I don't want to do it like that. I want to make sure I have this. Well, I'm going to hold down Control so we snap to the grid, and Alt. And that's going to pull out from the center there. Make a nice little rounded shape here. Oh, that didn't work because I have different parameters set. So let's just delete that and try that again. Except I'm going to set up all of these parameters correctly this time. And again, I'm going to hold down Control and Alt. And that's going to blend that right in there. Yeah, that's a cool shape, I think. Let's go over into our fill here, actually, now that we have the base set up. And I'm going to make these a bit bigger. Nice big wide planks. And if I wanted to make them running lengthwise, we could. The next thing we're going to do is start to build up the other elements around. So I think what we'll do is we'll leave this and we'll create a new painting layer. And then we'll start to add in, the last thing I'm going to do is start to do these like outside kind of elements. But right now I'm going to set up, I want to do a division here. We'll make this a raised area in the back and maybe a raised area in the front as well up here. So we'll have this like lower deck, and then we can do like steps and whatnot that kind of go up to these other sides. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go into my brushes here, and we're going to use some of these like planks. We have railings as well, and this is really great to help determine differences along those lines. We have these walls, so we have lots of different options on how we want to define these areas. Now, as we know, the best way to do that and to really make it feel as though that we have that kind of separation is with the shadows and highlights and whatnot. That's what really sells it to your brain that something is lower or higher or has different elevation to it. Cast shadows from the upper areas. But let's switch over. We're going to turn off our fill now, and let's grab this wall brush. And this will be like the edge trim or whatnot. This kind of goes along there. So again, I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to snap to my grid and just kind of define that. Do the same. I'm going to do it from there, there. Now it's going to overhang a little bit, and that's okay because we're going to do like railings and all kinds of stuff. And if we want to, we can actually come in here and move this in a little bit. But I think it's fine. It is. So now we have this really good kind of separation here. If we wanted to, we could even bring this all the way out across, and we'll have like this really good kind of defining areas here. Now going back into our decorations, it's still on the same layer. I'm going to jump over and I'm going to grab some like stairs. So here we have these nice little steps, which will work really well. So let's go into our stamp. And if we want it to seem like much of a longer distance, I'm going to make these a bit bigger. Let's actually make this like 4, and we want this to kind of feel as though that it moves all the way up. And then we're going to flip it, and maybe we'll do some here, and maybe another one on this side. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to snap these to the grid so that I can make sure that they're in a close to the same exact place on either side. We can create like the entrances into our little areas in here. We'll have them sticking out slightly from underneath here and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so what we can do is we can actually create from our element over here. Let's create a new effects layer and use that as a mask. And we'll just start to create our shadows here a little bit. We might even want to do like an angled shadow kind of coming off of here. Light coming down this way. Yeah, something like this. So we want to keep this kind of in highlight there. We'll do some shadows underneath our, and we'll do some like here. Maybe our steps. Something rough here for right now. Cool. So you can see how much depth that always. This is a little bit too much though. Let's actually back that off. Whoop. We don't want it to seem that tall. This is only 3 steps. Maybe something like that. Cool. So we can add all of the different decorative kind of elements we want, all of that stuff. But now that we have our base, let's jump into the new stuff here. So here we have all kinds of these elements we have that we can kind of use to create our masterpiece. So I'm gonna switch back, and we'll stay on this for a little bit. I think what we'll do is we'll add in something here. This. Well, first, what kind of ship do you think we should make here? Any ideas on themes that we should kind of do with this? We make it some sort of monstrosity? Some sort of horrific creation here? We could do. We'll create a new painting layer. Put it above that adjust colors. Well, if you guys have any ideas, let me know. I'll just continue to create. Now I'm going to adjust these things on the layer level because I want to not, I'm just going to add things and I can adjust them kind of as we go here. I'm thinking that we could, and maybe what we'll do is just move this up a little bit here. Yeah, maybe like there. Why do you suppose it is that tentacles just make everything seem so much more horrific? All right, now we can build some additional kind of elements. I think we'll do some up along here because it's supposed to be like this mix, right? Between some of them are kind of like living elements. I think what we can do is get another paint layer and drop it under here. And then again, we can lower down elements. So what I'm thinking is that this will be, we can move this down here. But this will be like raised up. You'll be able to go in underneath this. Then maybe we'll do another one though. Do a little bit more like this, I think. And we will get very wide. Place this underneath this. Maybe we'll make it a little bit more like that. And maybe what we'll do is move stuff back a little. Probably we should do all of it, right? All of that stuff back a little bit. Yeah, something like that. I think what we can do is go on to here, this one, and grab, again, I'm going to send this out. Move this back down, something like there. Yeah, that's cool. And then we can start to build another element up on the top here. Let's do, kind of go through the same workflow as we did here. Remember, we've changed all of these colors on these layers as we begin to add this stuff. I'm holding down Control to make sure that we kind of snap to the grid there. Creating our monstrous ship here. I like this idea that maybe we have these things that kind of are like this. Right? That like obviously looks like something that you could go in underneath. Do you think we should have claws on this as well? Definitely going to add in a lot more tentacles and whatnot. And we can grab We also have lots of really cool fill elements for different types of shells and skins, and we can build lots of different stuff any way that we wish. But let's kind of grab some of these. We'll kind of keep it more consistent. What do you guys think? Miniature giant space hamsters. Is that its power source? Hamsters on wheels. Then we can do like this there. I think what we can do is let's grab like something like this. Yeah, that's cool. Let's create a new painting layer and put it all the way on the bottom. And this is going to be stuff that is going to be coming out from underneath. So we could do maybe something like this. We'll make them smaller. We'll do some other ones like that. Guess we'll do a couple of layers down there. We should start to name our layers, or we're gonna get lost here. Cool. Now, before we go too much further, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new effects layer. And we're going to add in some of our shadows here a little bit. Blur this out. Doesn't have to be too precise. And we can do a little bit down here as well. And we'll do a little bit extra here. And we'll do like this half, but we'll come in and we can add in some of these little incidental shadows around. Do this stuff here. You can see you don't have to be very precise, but as long as you have that kind of feeling to it, you're really going to start to add in another layer of complexity that makes it just a little bit more believable. Makes it feel as though it's got a little bit more shape to it. I think we'll do more tentacles as well. You never have too many tentacles, right? Yeah, there are those. I happen to fall into that camp, I believe. Oh, good. All right, so now what we can do is, I think what we probably should do is start to name these, right? We'll call this deck, and then these are under. We can group these into a folder. Call this um, low, and then this is the deck core. Um, these will be like the railings. And then we can grab another folder. Uh, that's all of this stuff. Great. Now what we can actually do is begin to populate all of the other elements that we want to do on our deck itself. We have a pretty good base here, what we're creating. I'm going to go back into the coastal 2, and in here we have a whole bunch of pre-made elements like that. So we could do some really cool stuff, I think. And depending, we might put it on here if we want it to be going over the railing and whatnot. But we want to remember that we have changed the colors on that particular layer. So we might want to do another painting layer and drop that down to something like this. So if we were going to do cannons, for example, and we want to switch over to our, let's say we wanted to put in a couple of cannons like up here or here or whatnot, we might want to do it going over the railing there. That rather organic looking structure. So do you guys know much about these Spelljammer ships? Are they actually alive? And they're controlled by like a helm, right? A fancy chair somewhere. Oh, I see. Yeah, so some of them are and some of them aren't and so on. I wonder if I just use like a grate. Probably should just grate fill. I know I have some. I think it's in the modern industrial. Someday I'll learn where all this stuff is. Oh, here we got one. Oh, that's cool. Let's make this more narrow. Taller. Not 80. And what I'm actually going to do is, because we're doing it on this deck level, well, I should probably not put that there yet. But we're going to go here, and we're going to go tract out. Oh, not like that. Not sure why this is weird. Well, we can just do it from here. We can adjust it here. We'll do this, and we'll delete those and move this here. Perfect. And that can give us a glimpse down into a lower level, which we'll create next time. Probably while we're doing this, I'm just going to grab, let's go into the fantastic, oh, nope. Go into the fantastic space. And I'm just going to go into one of these pre-made maps or one of these backgrounds and just throw it on here for right now. Let's do this one. And I'm actually going to just lower down its opacity, so it's kind of in the background, making our ship stand out. Then we have to go into our adjust colors here, and we got to make sure that our we don't have this going on here. Oh, so the question from Bangfist is, does Fantasy Grounds allow you to export maps to other tabletop platforms? And currently, no. The way that it works is that all of this information, the way that Fantasy Grounds handle it, it references these images and whatever we do to change them and alter them and whatnot. So that's just metadata. So if you export a map, all you do is export the metadata, not the actual images themselves. But there has been some talk about possibly pressing them down to JPEGs or whatnot, but not currently. So very cool. Yeah, that's looking really good. What other elements do you think that we should put on our ship? Let's go into our coastal 2 and go back into our decorations. I think I'll grab some of these other elements here. Let's do yeah, we can add in some like lanterns and things. Yeah, you're welcome. Let's go to here. Let's that. Then I'll flip it. Some firepower. Yeah, we'll definitely add some firepower. We'll do this for like our doorway. Oh yeah, like a spear. Oh, I could the bowsprit we could turn into a spear. We could do one right on the end of it. Could create like a big ramming weapon. We could also add like ballistas or cannons. I'm gonna do like a couple of crates like coming out from under here. Maybe they have And then we can come into here, add our little shadows to. Very cool. So let's add. We can go into our Siege art package. And here we have all kinds of these. This is the second one. We want the first one. Lots of cool like trebuchets, and let's do some. What do you think? Should we do like catapults? Or ballistas? Thinking we could do them here. Maybe sticking out this, or we could use, let's do one that's got like a longer neck to it, so we could do it like this. Or we could put them on the front. Maybe here. Probably makes more sense. And what we'll do is we'll just remove on this one. Have this kind of a little bit more. We can add in a little bit of cast shadow from these. Make them feel like they're fit in there a little bit better. Grab some texture stuff. We'll texture up our deck here a little bit. It's a little bit too pristine. Move over into our, I think we'll just grab some of these snow elements. What I'll do is I'm just going to go down to the onto the deck And I'm gonna hold R, G, and B. Add a little bit of color to it, but we'll a bit darker and then lower down the opacity. We'll this one, we'll do it that one. Is it too much there? We'll make this one a bit smaller, and let's add a little bit more green to it. Not that much. As you can see, that just adds a little bit of extra, because you're going to have wear and tear. Who knows what spills out in the cosmic world on it. But what a cool ship. What do you think we should name this ship? And we're going to be building a lot more onto this as well. Ooh, Josh was falling. Perfect. Awesome. Well, I think we're going to be calling it there for today, guys. We got a really good start on this ship. We're going to do the interior of the ship, and we're going to do a whole bunch of other stuff with it as well. So it should be super exciting. We're going to finish that up next time, as well as dive into the space art pack as well. We'll create some different backgrounds. Oh, yes. Thanks. We'll definitely try to maintain a pretty good cohesion with what we're doing here. Best we can. So this is, yeah, should be great fun. We'll be adding a whole bunch of other stuff. I'll be making a whole bunch of Spelljammer maps. And these will all get put up onto the Forge, so you can download them for free once they get up there. It takes a little while for them to get up there, but I'm going to try and get these ones pushed through so that it can be ready for your Spelljammer adventures if you want to use them. You do need to have access to the art packages that we use in order to use any of the maps that we put up on the Forge for free. So the art subscription is probably best. It's $5 a month or $50 a year, and it gives you access to all of the art packs that have been released and will be released. So thanks everyone for joining me today. Come back tonight for Fabled Dice at 9 p.m. where Bryce runs an excellent game. I try to check it out if I'm up that late. But yeah, thanks everyone so much, and I hope you guys all have a great week. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.